Pete and Sarah are in the waiting room. How lovely.
Oh my God.
How lovely to see their name. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Hello to everyone who visited us, everyone who knows us, to our friends. We remember each of you. You are always in our hearts. So the cup for you. Cheers, guys. Really lovely to see you.
So, I'm Ross. And Boris and I have been having a conversation about doing this over a number of months, around about bringing up-to-date, effective information about the use of ayahuasca within psychotherapy. I myself have been working as a counsellor within the field of addiction and trauma since 2008, and I became aware of ayahuasca for the first time in would have been 2009, whilst I was in northern Canada, a place called Hyslop. And then very succinctly, I was in Vancouver at a professional doctor's book signing, and he then, a few days after my first meeting with it, was sharing his work with addiction and ayahuasca. And I teamed up with Boris and Sasha of APL Journeys 18 months ago, and we've been working together since then. So I'll hand you over to Boris.
Thank you, Ross. Yeah, so my name is Boris. I'm the founder of APL Shamanic Journeys retreats. We are hosting retreats in several countries in Europe, Spain, and Portugal. In Peru, of course, we offer dietas with master plans there, rather than more than ayahuasca sessions itself. And also we are hosting retreats in Mexico. We're gonna have one soon. So APL was founded more than 3 years ago, but first time when me and my partner we went to the Amazon, it was 9 years ago, and we discovered plant medicine and ayahuasca for ourselves. For us, it was an incredible journey, and since that times, you know, it just stuck. We couldn't not to implement it into our everyday life because it changed us so much. I was really young that time. I was 19 years old, and in such a young age, of course, it was a very impressive adventure. So time passed, and we were visiting Peru several times. We participated in ceremonies. We worked with different shamans, and lately we started to pass dietas with master plans, and it changed our life completely. It changed the way we lived, and it changed the way we thought. And it's still changing the way we live. And that's the magic of ayahuasca, because this is a process without an end. So finally, we found that APL started to host retreats, and we are concentrated not only on providing the opportunity to work with ayahuasca as a superstar in our world right now, but also with other medicinal plants in the Amazon, because ayahuasca is well known, but in reality in the Amazon there are so much more medicinal plants, teacher plants, how shamans call them, that can heal you, that can guide you, that can show you who you really are and where you should go. And this is an incredible feeling to be in touch with this ancient tradition of healing in the Amazon. So nowadays we are connecting traditional Peruvian approach, ways of healing with our modern understanding of ayahuasca and modern approach to ayahuasca, including psychotherapy. That's why on our retreats, we always advise our participants to take ayahuasca assisted therapy that Ross can provide. Yes. And I think that it really boosts your experience with the medicine, the right way to prepare, the right way to participate, and the right way to integrate. That's the key. And that's what we're gonna talk about today, because people
Yes.
know about ayahuasca, but what is the right way to prepare and go through the experience and then to integrate? That's the main question.
Indeed, the right way to prepare. So first and foremostly, from my perspective, ayahuasca is not some kind of psychedelic vacation that you should have on your bucket list and approach it with the mindset that it's going to be some joyful, euphoric experience that you want to participate in simply because you read an article about it in a tabloid newspaper. It is set and setting when we are working with master plants is absolutely everything. And people, admittedly myself also, had a judgment on the master plants as it was a drug, and that was installed in me. And being someone who's been in a journey of recovery for a number of years, that mindset had put me off of it. In order for society and our humanity to benefit from the effects of ayahuasca, I think we have to have a complete turnaround in the legality of it and the way that we view the plant. Set and setting with regards to ayahuasca is fundamental, it's key. And Boris, I'm sure, will go on and speak more in depthly about the dieta being the very strict diet that we go on before we walk towards the experience and journey that's set before us with ayahuasca. Now, set and setting, set, the way I perceive this, is mindset. Setting is the content in which you take it. When you look at drugs or alcohol, the mindset was one of to get away, to disconnect from how you were feeling internally. The setting with alcohol or drugs is generally in a dark and dingy apartment, or indeed in a place such as a public bar. Now, ayahuasca, the setting is done in a ceremony. It's a ritual. It's a ritual which is performed with respect and the highest possible intention that you can have as you're walking towards that. The mindset, the set of ayahuasca, is the opposite to illicit substances and drugs, because ayahuasca is not to disconnect us from ourselves, but rather giving us the opportunity to connect with ourselves and meet ourselves, and also meet the trauma that we may have been avoiding through drugs and alcohol. Boris, tell us a little bit about the Dieta program that you and both Sasha have been involved in the jungle.
Yeah, first of all, I think that you mentioned a vital thing about ayahuasca, that sometimes people perceive it as a drug. But what is the main trap here? The main trap is that when we think about something as a drug, we think that this is the easy solution. Because people are taking drugs because they're looking for an easy solution to ease their pain or to solve their problems. And even when we are talking about psychedelics, like regular psychedelics like LSD or DMT or DMA, people always think about it as an easy solution, an
Yes.
easy way to resolve their issues. And sometimes when people come to the ceremony and they make a decision to take an ayahuasca, they think about it, they still think about it as an easy solution, like a one-time thing, a silver bullet that's gonna solve all their problems. And that's the moment when all our problems with ayahuasca starts, because we don't think about what we're gonna bring with us to the ceremony and what we should be ready for, but we think only about an easy solution that ayahuasca has to give us. And it's not about us, it's about her. We are putting all the responsibility on her shoulders. and expecting her to give us all the solutions. And this is the main trap, especially when we are talking about the preparational process. This is the main thing to understand first. It's not about ayahuasca solving our problems. It's about us having the right mindset in the right setting with a respectful way of preparation that will allow us to be in a place where we can find the solution through the advice that the plant can give us. Because all the shamanic practices, it's not about just an alternate state of consciousness. The shamanic practices in the Amazon are about connection, our connection with plants. It's a little bit difficult to understand for our Western mind, but that's what shamanism is about our purification on the physical, mental, and spiritual levels. And through the purification, the connection with some beings or entities or spirits or angels or whatever we want to call it. In the shamanism, we would call them master plants, teacher spirits. And ayahuasca is one of these teacher spirits, one of the spirits that we can connect, the mother of all the medicine in the Amazon. And through this connection, we can resolve our problems. But it's not the responsibility of the medicine to give you the solution. It's our responsibility to find it. Because when we come to the ceremony with the right setting, with the right guide, a shaman who's going to host the ceremony, we are getting an incredible opportunity to finally see what has to be done. But it's always up to us if we are ready to do it or not. And preparation is the first part when we can take this responsibility and come to the ceremony with the feeling that we can present to the medicine. And this is a very important thing. It's the first step when we are giving something to ayahuasca, and in return, ayahuasca is coming to us with solutions. And this process of dieta, the dieting process before the ceremony, is the way to pay the respect to the process. I think this is very important. One of the first things that I want people who are listening to us to understand, that dieting is not only about the physical preparation and the safety. Of course, it's also about this, but this is such a complex process. When we can start preparational process of our mind, build up our discipline, sacrifice something to show that we really want to find a solution. We are not just a tourist here, looking around.
Exactly.
We did something to receive. We are giving and then we are receiving. It's like with two hands. One hand we have to give and then we have another to receive. So I think that it really matches some academical understanding of the process, I suppose.
Yes, I agree. I agree completely that the intention towards you wanting to get better, the intention that you place upon your physical, emotional, and spiritual health, and how you walk towards that destination is absolutely key for what you're going to receive from the plant. Western medications are fundamentally, let me attempt to give you it from an opposite angle. Let me attempt to give you my thoughts from a Western perspective to shine light on the medicine. So what Western medicine is set up for? Western medicine is set up to make the ego better functioning. Now, that's not a bad thing, but if you are depressed or in trauma, not functioning, you cannot make decisions, you're confused, or you are suffering from PTSD or lacking motivation, a sense of clarity, it's good to gain clarity, and it's good to get motivation and not be depressed. psychotherapy can help, and for all the controversy around medication, medication can profoundly help people. Western medicine can help people function at a much higher level in their life. However, what the Western modalities do not take into account, that there's more to us than just the ego. There's more to us than just the functioning world of the self. There is a deeper, almost, humanity to us which Western medicine do not recognize. Spiritual people might say there is more of a divinity to us. The fundamental resolution of human suffering has to go deeper than just the ego or the troubles or the dysfunctions of the ego. So traditional modalities or shamanic modalities, spiritual modalities from around the world, West and East, we aim at looking at having a deeper connection with life than just simply clearing the functioning of the ego. And that's where Western medicine doesn't aim at healing, the cure, because what ayahuasca looks at is more of a wholeness, more of looking at a sense of completeness, where it wants to work not only on the ego and the dysfunction of that, but bringing connection to a spiritual sense of loss, or an emotional sense of disconnection, or even a physical sense of disconnection. And unfortunately, Western medicines aren't working at that level. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And we work with a lot of people who suffer with depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and other psychological problems. And when we talk with them, the main topic, the main idea that we hear is that medication that was offered to them was aimed to numb their emotions, to separate them from their pain. But it's not possible to just separate from pain. It's the complex process when the medication is separating you from the whole range of emotions. And then you just find yourself eventually in a bigger depression because you're not running towards yourself, you're running from yourself. You're trying to produce emotions that you don't really have inside. Inside you have fear, inside you have anxiety, you have insecurity, and with the use of the medication, you're synthetically obligating yourself to feel differently. But what is inside yourself is not changing because you're taking a pill. You're just avoiding the real you, the real emotions that you have. And that's also a very important thing when we talk about the preparation to the medicine. Because in the Amazon, I will tell you a very interesting thing. Not many people know about it. Ayahuasca contains two components. The first one is ayahuasca wine that is not psychoactive and contains beta-carbolines. And the second component is DMT-infused plant like chacruna or chiliponga or other plants. So nowadays we are drinking ayahuasca as a brew of these two plants. And we're used to this intense psychedelic, let's call them psychedelic or visual effects from the ceremony. But in reality, we don't know for how long shamans and healers in the Amazon are using this brew that made out of these two plants. But we know for sure that for thousands of years in the Amazon, healers, or how they call themselves, curanderos, they were using only the first initial part of ayahuasca brew that names ayahuasca wine, that is not like traditionally psychoactive. Thus, if you drink it in a huge amounts, you will experience a psychoactive effect because it blocks the ferment in our body that regulates the amount of our neurotransmitters, such as serotonin, dopamine, noradrenaline, and also DMT, because DMT is so similar to our serotonin as a molecule structure. So, why I'm telling it? Because for thousands of years, shamans and healers, not only in the Amazon, but in other areas as well. Chile, Ecuador, Peru, all countries around. They were using this initial component, ayahuasca wine. They were drinking a lot of not very much concentrated tea that made out of this ayahuasca wine. And they were calling it purgo ayahuasca. So what does it mean, purgo ayahuasca? It means that this ayahuasca makes you puke. And a lot of people, when they come to us, to our retreats, they ask me, Boris, is it obligated to puke? Maybe, you know, maybe not everyone is puking during the process. And they are missing the initial idea of ayahuasca, to purge. And why it is so important? Because it is connected with the fact that we can release everything that we hold inside on the physical and spiritual levels. And that's how they were drinking ayahuasca for thousands of years, drinking a lot of ayahuasca tea and then purge and purge and purge. And this is important because ayahuasca allows us to face our inner self, to face the love we have inside, to face the light we have inside, to face all the good emotions we have inside, but as well face all the dark emotions we are keeping, but not only to face them, to recognize them, and then to purge them out of ourselves. And that's such a big difference between the medication that we used to and the effect that ayahuasca is giving. It never numbs us. It never separates us from ourselves. It allows us to face everything that we have inside and then release it. Yes. To purify ourselves. And this is the first main property of ayahuasca, purification of our physical body, for example, parasites, ayahuasca helping with it, and as well on the spiritual level. So I think that this is one of the biggest difference, you know, that we can see, not numbing, but facing and accepting what we have inside, who we are.
Exactly. Wow. You've got me thinking more.
Yeah, that's just how it works. And when we talk about preparational process, especially if someone is listening to us and this person never participated in the ceremony, just prepare yourself for an incredible adventure to yourself.
Yes.
And this is beautiful adventure. You shouldn't be afraid of it. Just remember that to really purify your soul, you need to understand what is inside. You need to sometimes look inside and see your demons, you know, because everyone has them. But the thing is not to fight to them, but to understand how to live with them and how to release them if they don't serve you, to accept the way you are. And through this acceptance, you will find the great strength that you are carrying. And then you are no longer need to numb your feelings. You no longer need to separate yourself from your mind or from the way how you feel, because you're going to accept yourself, and you will find the way with the support of ayahuasca, the way to be as effective as possible without breaking your spine, you know, without changing the way who you are. This is very important.
And it just brings such a sense of respect that thousands of years ago, the indigenous people of the Amazon were able to dissect that these two very different plants, when combined and boiled together, would give this rich sense of wholeness and bring bonding back to the fractures of disconnection, and how these people thousands of years ago were able to say that the illnesses the individuals were experiencing were not that of a physical only effect on the body, but of a disconnection from self, source, and being present. And you know, thousands and thousands of years of them working with this plant and bringing this knowledge to the Western world is the Western mindset ready to approach the plant with the correct intention? You know, I think it's really important to approach the plant with respect, because it's very important that this particular plant, when used in the context of tradition, bilateralismo, which is it's your connection to the plant world. So the cultures of which ayahuasca is used and came to be used, you know, Colombia, Peru, all the places that you've mentioned, it wasn't about the particular plant, it was about a whole culture of connection with the plant world and man's human connection to the plant world. And there's many, many plant teachers, Boris, as you know, not just ayahuasca. The second point that I'd like to make on that is it's not a drug in the Western sense. If you came to see somebody, you may be signposted to a doctor to go for Prozac. All the Prozac is going to do is change the biology of your brain. So as long as you're on the medication, you'll feel okay. But what we're not trying to do is evolving yourself in the process. You know, all the doctor's doing is prescribing. And also, you're never aiming at an ultimate healing. All you're doing is looking to control certain disturbing symptoms, which is not negative at all. It can be very, very helpful for individuals, but there's a big difference, because the shamans that work with the plants have been through their own initiation process. They've worked with the plants, they've lived in the plants, and they've went through a very harsh and demanding training and their own process of transformation through themselves, countless hours of training. So when they stand with you in your suffering, they have a capacity to do that because they've been with their suffering, and they bring their full awareness of their own woundedness and their own humanity into our experience when working with us. And number two, when they give you the plant medicine, whether it's ayahuasca or anything else, it's part of their tradition and their world. When they come to you with that, they're not trying to change the biology of your brain. You're only taking the substance for ceremony. You might do 3 ceremonies, you might do 10 ceremonies, you might do a number of ceremonies. But you're not permanently on a drug to change the biology of your brain like Prozac. It's to give you a glimpse into some aspects of yourself that you're not connected with. It's to give you, alter your consciousness in a way while you're on the substance, and also beyond that, to give you an allowing to see things, to see some things more clearly within yourself. And it's definitely not about changing the biology of your brain. It's about expanding your mind to walk towards yourself and reconnect with those areas of yourself that you've disconnected from through trauma, through early childhood experiences that we bring with us. We carry those early traumatic experiences like a rucksack through into our adult life. So it's a very different modality when we're talking here about an Amazonian plant versus a Western pill. Agreed?
I think, you know, when you were talking, I was just thinking about few so important moments that you mentioned. First of all, about the changing of biochemistry of our brain. You know, interesting fact. Ayahuasca wine, the initial component of ayahuasca brew, contains beta-carbolines. So we also call them IMO.
IMO?
Yeah. So it's inhibitors of monoamine oxidase, the ferment in our, the enzyme in our body. But you know, the interesting fact is that the very first antidepressant that was synthesized was based on the same exact male eyes.
Yeah.
But here is a difference. That antidepressant that was created was based on the irreversible MRIs. But ayahuasca contains reversible IMLIs, beta-carbolines. And it goes out of your body just in a few hours after you take it. And if you are taking the synthesized antidepressant, it will be in your body for weeks after you use it. And that's why you're absolutely right that ayahuasca is not changing the biochemistry of our brain after the ceremony. It just gives you the opportunity to walk with your fears, with your insecurities, with your problems while you are in the ceremonial contents. And also you said a very important thing, by the way, about Prozac, because a lot of people were asking me for how long it's important to avoid SSRIs, antidepressants, other prescribed medication, or for example, food products that contains tyramine that is restricted with IMAO inhibitors with ayahuasca. So as you mentioned, Prozac, it's one of the unique medications that has to be avoided for at least 6 weeks before you have your first ceremony. Usually with SSRIs, 2 weeks, 10 days would be enough, or with antidepressants. But with Prozac, you have to be very careful, because with this exact type of medication, the minimum amount of time is 6 weeks before your first ceremony. Also, just tip for you how to understand for how long you should avoid the particular medication or antidepressants that you might use. So you should figure out the half-life, the illumination half-life of the particular drug or medication that you are using, and then multiply it 5 times. This will be the safe period of time. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
For example, the illumination half-life is 5 hours. You multiply it 5 times, so 25 hours is the safe period. For example, with a food, that contains tyramine, because we talk about preparational process now. Of course, you have to eat quite a bit of food that contains tyramine to have an adverse reaction with ayahuasca. For example, all the fermented products, or like cheese or canned products or meat that contains tyramine, should be avoided before the ceremony. I would say, if we talk only about the physical level, let's say 2-3 days will be enough.
Yes.
But that's very important to remember what we started with. Maybe not everyone who is watching us right now heard it. But the preparational process is not only about the physical purification and the safety of your experience. The preparational process is about you giving respect to the ceremony that is awaiting for you. And that's why you can calculate the amount of hours, the amount of days that you should avoid this food or this drug. But that's not going to be the key point. The key point of the dieting process is you sacrificing some things in your life that you used to do in order to collect enough energy to look inside.
Yes.
And to answer yourself one vital question: why are you doing it? Because when you're no longer having sex, and when you're no longer having your tasty food, or doing some other stuff that you usually do, your mind starts to question yourself. Why am I doing it to myself? And that's the moment for you to answer this question, and answer it honestly. Why you think you should participate in the ceremony? And it should be something very personal, something maybe even intimate. This is the moment when you form this intention that you will bring with you to the ceremony. And the intention is not the order in the cafe, in the restaurant. It's not like you're ordering something that ayahuasca is giving you, but this is something that you are bringing with yourself. It's like your gift to the medicine, when you're saying that I am ready, and that's why I am giving you my discipline, I am giving you my respect, I am giving you surrender, I am giving you acceptance, I am giving you all the things that I did while my preparational process. And I think that this is very important. And I would like you to comment it after I finish. And only one small thing that I want to add. You also said about shamans who are preparing for guiding ceremonies. And I want everyone to know that the process of the educational process of a shaman, a real shaman who lives in the Amazon in a constant connection with plants, will take minimum 10 years. Okay, and what does preparational educational process means? It means that the shaman is living in the isolation and pacing dietas with master plans with a lot of restrictions. Why it is important? Because during this process the shaman is purifying himself and getting in touch with different plant teachers. And this is a very interesting thing about the shamanic tradition. It's never about you and the guru, you and the teacher, you and another shaman who teaches you. It's about you and your connection with the plants. And through this connection, you can receive knowledge. But it's not coming to you in an easy way. Because even to live in the Amazon in isolation, this is a hard thing to do. Believe me, I did it. You face all your fears and insecurities. This is the toughest thing you can do. And sometimes you can't imagine what it is to pass 10 years like this. This is the craziest thing ever. But through this process, shamans are facing the fact who they are.
Yes.
They're accepting it. They're understanding who they are. And they are the same people as we are. And that's why they can help us.
Yes.
Because they're accepting all the issues, all the problems that they're carrying. And then through their discipline, they're finding the way to live with it and to combat some of them, or to release some of them, or to make a deal with some of them. And they live in this constant connection with the world of spirits around them. And when they come to us, for example, in Europe, or to other places to guide ceremonies, they are bringing all their experience with them. And when they're singing, you know, that they call the songs Icarus, it's not just a song. This song contains all the experience that they had back in the Amazon with plants. And that's why this song has power to guide you through the ceremony, to protect you, or to heal you, because this song is a bridge that connects you with the plants world. And through this bridge, this entity, the spirits can come and heal you, because this particular shaman has such a pure connection with this world. And that's why he can invite the spirits to provide healing. Shaman is not the person who heals. Shaman is the person who connects you with energies, or with spirits, with entities that can come and heal you. And this is very important. That's why this educational process that shaman passed is so important. And sometimes, you know, here in Europe, us as retreat owners, we know that there are so many places with this neo-shamanic understanding of the medicine, when the ceremonies with lights on, with music, with speakers, without any guidance. And that's why it's so wrong from my perspective. Terrible. Because they open the door that they don't know how to close. You know, they don't know what's going to come through this door.
And as I said at the beginning, it's changing the mindset from this being a psychedelic vacation or something that you just want to do because it's a new age traveler thing to experience. And we have a chap in the United Kingdom that does podcasts, and he has many thousands of followers. And he went to a place, we both know of the place in Costa Rica, and he showed the video of how the ceremony was ran. And this gets programmed into the Western mind to think that this is an effective ritual. Both you and I know that's not the way. We do not dance with the lights on when you are in ceremony. And for a Western mindset to flip, it's what's also very important to add on to what Boris was saying, just as an extension, is some people go to a New York apartment for a session of ayahuasca and then leave the next day. You may be looking into perhaps moving towards ayahuasca, and look very carefully at the retreats that you go to, because So many retreats offer you an experience of ayahuasca, but leave you when the door is closed the next morning. When you're able to integrate not only the plant medicine, but also the culture of how this plant is used in the Amazon, the preparation towards the particular ceremony could take a month, but they live in community. They live together as a family. And after the ceremony, they don't all disappear onto planes, trains, and automobiles. So they walk towards it together. They ritualistically go through the process together, and then they integrate together as a community. And that's also a very important part when you're looking at perhaps moving towards looking for a ceremony of ayahuasca to heal. Ayahuasca, as I've said, is very, very different from any Western modality. And it's took me a considerable amount of time to get my head around it. But the healing that we are seeing in people is close to miraculous in a lot of ways if the individual is guided effectively. Some people receive no benefit, but as Socrates says, before you heal anyone, you have to ask them if they're willing to give up what made them sick. So many Western mindsets have become habitualized into the illness and not willing to let go of what's made them sick. And as Boris said earlier on, the Western mindset is a very lazy mindset, and it's a mindset that wants to just expect the plant to click its fingers and take away your pain. That's not how Mother Ayahuasca works. She works with you if you're willing to work with her. And we're going to talk all night, but I'm just wondering if we should actually bring someone on that might have a question to break up just you and I talking amongst each other.
Yeah, that would be great. I think we have chat, so if someone is ready to join us, we will be more than happy to connect.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull Pete and Sarah on first.
Oh.
Hi, Pete. Actually bring someone on.
I think we can hear, guys.
How are you?
Hello, Boris. Hello, Ross. How are you?
Oh my God.
So good to see you.
How are you?
Pleasure.
I'm great. I can't believe it's been nearly 18 months.
How has life been for you in the last 18 months?
Busy. Busy.
Oh my God. I think it's easy for you to calculate because the baby appeared practically right after the retreat, so you know exactly how much time left.
So yeah, I've got another baby since I saw you.
Have you got a question for us?
Yeah, my main question was, well, it's been about 18 months since I joined, since I've met you, Ross, and met you, Boris, and went through this incredible experience. And I was wondering, kind of, it's been so long, kind of how to kind of get my mind back into the mindset that I was in back then and kind of remember and kind of try and keep it integrated within my life now.
Are you saying that you feel that it's not integrated in your life?
It has, but I feel like the further it's been since it happened, the more it feels like it's slipping away, like like a dream you're trying to remember. It feels like it slips away further and further the further time passes.
Is it that it's slipped away, Pete, or is it that you've just adapted to that new way of being in your life?
I feel I've definitely adapted and kind of I think about things in more ways, and then when I do it's very easy to get lost in life. But if you just take a minute and you think and your mind wanders back and you think, oh yeah. But I feel like further you get away from the experience, kind of like the harder it is to get back to that way of thinking that you were in, kind of in the immediate aftermath of the experiences. If that makes sense.
It does make sense, because
Yeah.
you know, one of the most important question with ayahuasca is how to preserve
Yeah,
the
exactly.
change that's been made. And this is such an important question, but there is no one answer, because you know, every person who had an ayahuasca experience should find the way to work with it in their own style.
Yeah.
For some people, it's like regular ceremonies, let's say once in half a year. For others, it's meditation. For others, it's a dynamic meditation. For others, it's just the way how they react to situations in their life, and they can see that they can react in a different way. And once they notice that they do react in a different way, not the way how they did it before the experience, it kind of reconnects them with the medicine, because they can see this inner power that appeared to change things. And it's not only about, you know, only living in the feeling of the ceremony that just happened. It's like, it's more about the feeling of new ways of thinking, new ways of acting that we are receiving from it. But also, I don't know, maybe you saw, we started to offer dietas courses, or microdosing, we can call it microdosing, with the pure ayahuasca wine. And it's possible to do it without the ceremonial context by yourself. And this is very traditional for the Amazonian region, when you can take a plant for, let's say, 5 days with a light dieta, and it helps you to reconnect with it. This is like the ultimate solution, a very useful way, when you can just pass a course and bring your attention back to the ayahuasca, you know, back to the medicine. It's a little trick, you know, that you can use as well. In the UK, we can ship, and you can take like 5 days to reconnect with the medicine. That's a great way to do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
And is Sarah there?
She's not at the moment. She's just gone to her mum and dad's house to pick up one of the kids.
Oh, please give her my love. It's great to see you, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah,
Thanks very much.
She's watching on Facebook at the moment.
Oh, is she? So she's seeing your waves. Hi, Sarah. Lovely to see you. Okay, I'm going to put you back in the waiting room, Pete, and if you want to hang out, then that's cool, and I'll pull somebody else on. All right, great to see you.
Man.
Really
great to see you, man.
We had such
Sarah from us.
we had such a great time. It was wonderful. Right,
it took me straight back to Portugal.
Brilliant, lovely. Here
Thank
we go.
you, Pete.
Right.
Wow, it's so amazing to see people who visited us again. You know, that's just an incredible feeling.
I've asked Francis Devine to come in if he's got any questions, but it doesn't look like he's there.
Hello.
Hello. Do you have any questions for us, Mr. Devine?
Hey, aye. Good evening to both of you. I found the conversation very interesting, and your man's presentation interesting. And what I'm thinking is, 2 words stick out for me. The idea, you know, the word, I have the word coming up there about respect, and I would fire another word, an additional word in there, context. What I like is the way that, you know, because I think it's the context within which we're discussing ayahuasca. You know, I mean, you and I, Ross, I remember about maybe 8 years ago, we were on the verge of going to South America. I wish I'd have went, actually, but it wasn't to be. But what I like here is it's the context in which we're discussing the plant, and it's not in a drug subculture, but it's in a healing, or I don't even know the right sort of a term, but I like the context in which it's being discussed, in a healing context, if you like, rather than as a. And I've heard you say it a couple of times, and I've kind of tippled it. I'm like, Big Ross is bang on here, you know. But no, seeing it as a mum will go and get mad with it for a week. But
Well,
come on,
if I just interject to what you're saying,
yeah,
what happened was these molecules were being researched in the 30s, 40s, and 50s under guidance of skilled practitioners.
yeah,
And what happened was it got made illegal. And when
yeah.
it got made illegal, it was at that point that the subculture of drug users started experimenting with it to expand consciousness.
Okay.
Now what we've got to do is we've got to completely change that viewpoint and that narrative and look at it more of one with respect, context, and it is a medicinal plant.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah. Can I say something? I mean, this is the thing, you know, and I know that some sort of, there's been down market podcasters have been taking kind of gangsters or pseudo gangsters away somewhere to take ayahuasca. And I mean, I'm be honest with you, I don't read tabloid newspapers, so I don't know the type of PR ayahuasca's been getting in the newspapers. You know, I'm not. What I'm trying to look at it and say is their value. I'm increasing. No, maybe a few years ago I was a bit like that. I was trying to escape from drug and alcohol subcultures. You know, so that fed into that for me, and it gave me a wee. I thought to myself, no, I'm not really too sure about this. Am I really kidding myself on by taking ayahuasca? Can I just say that where I'm at now, I would be a lot more sort of not susceptible, but a lot more susceptible to listening to the value of ayahuasca. I mean, and what you both of you have said sounds very positive. And no, it's a whole. I think what we're talking about context and where you would take it, who you would take it with. I think these things are really important. That you're not taking it, for me personally, within the context of a drug subculture. That's not happening. It's more within a healing, a safe environment would make all the difference to me.
The two common differences that you're suggesting, one promotes disconnection and one promotes connection. Healing will only occur in a connected state because trauma is a disconnected state. Trauma can only happen when you're disconnected. If there was no disconnection, there would be no trauma. You see?
Mm. So childhood trauma probably is the reason.
Yes.
You know, you're trying to work things out for yourself and why certain things happened, and certain things had a particular trajectory in your life where they led in certain directions. And you know, and that's one of the reasons why I'm saying to myself, my attitude towards the ayahuasca has changed. That my attitude towards the plant. Not that I've done a lot of reading into it. I have watched a couple of things on YouTube, and I've listened to your good self, and I have read up one or two things in academic journals, and it's all helped to maybe make me feel a wee bit more that there might be value in this as a therapeutic tool.
Yeah, you know, I also have something to say about it, because I think this is a very important moment, that sometimes ayahuasca is perceived as a drug culture, another type of psychedelics that we can use. And it happened, and now it is a big risk, because, you know, if we look at United States, for example, we can see that in a lot of states, they decriminalize entheogens and ayahuasca as well. And that gives access to ayahuasca for everyone. And on one side, this is a good thing. This is a huge step for the whole community to have a legal access to the medicine. But on the other side, it's always a question of how it's going to be used and who is going to be those people who are going to provide ceremonies and in what setting it's going to be held. So this is a very important moment. And you know, when we think about ayahuasca, we concentrate on it because it gives us the alternate state of consciousness. And when me personally, 9 years ago, I went to Peru to meet the shaman. Of course, I was also concentrating on this psychedelic journey or some alternate state of consciousness that ayahuasca can give to me. But you know what I found out? When I started to learn more about the tradition in the Amazon and Peru and I met different shamans and curanderos, healers, I found out that ayahuasca is just one of the plants that is used in those regions, and they are not that much concentrated on it. And most of plants that they use for healing, let's say ahusacha or kumaseba or chuchuasi, a lot of different plants in the Amazonian region, they usually take it in the way of diet or the way of dieting. They are not psychoactive. They don't make you go in another state of consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's why it's also important, you know, not to concentrate that much on the visions, on some pictures that ayahuasca can give you, but really understand that all the shamanic tradition is about your connection with plants, because plants are giving us life. They're producing oxygen. They're allowing us to live on this planet. And that's very weird for the Western mind, but we can connect with them. And that's why ayahuasca is not only about the psychedelic experience, and that's why it's not connected with the drug culture if we use it in the right way.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Ayahuasca is only like a pike of the iceberg, a superstar, but it's just a part that allows us to purge, to release everything, to purify ourselves, and to empty space to continue our journey with other plants or with other practices.
Does that answer your question, Frank?
It does indeed. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for watching.
I'll put you into a waiting room and I'll go and grab. There we go. See if we've got somebody else. Gemma Anderson coming in. There we go. It takes a little minute. There we go. See if we've got somebody else.
I think we are online.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry, I think there's a little bit of a delay. I'm watching you on the computer, and it's nice to see you. I'm really enjoying the information that's coming tonight. It's something that I've actually been really interested in for a while through talking to Ross. My question is, if you're feeling the pull to work with ayahuasca for the first time, where would you start to find somewhere that was safe, a reputable shaman and a ceremony? Is there a standard? You know, as Ross said, you don't want to be dancing with the lights on and things. So how would you go about finding a good place to go?
This is a very important question. And I will try to answer it not as a retreat owner, because the easiest way for me to say just come to us, you know. But I will try to be very objective.
I mean, of course.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes, you come to us.
no, but you know, forget about it.
Yes.
Forget about the fact that I am the retreat owner. The truth is that the first step to begin is to understand in what way you want to take ayahuasca, because there are different traditions. I'm not speaking about this like neo-shamanic European tradition, but I'm speaking about the Peruvian tradition, Brazilian tradition, Santa Daime Church. Santa Daime is like a combination of different religion conceptions in a combination with ayahuasca. And also in Brazil, they have UDV. Yeah, so all these ways to host ceremonies are different. And I have a great respect for Santa Daime Church as well as UDV, but their ways to host ceremonies will be so much different from traditional ways how shamans do it in Peru, for example. Because in Peru, the main emphasis is on your personal, intimate connection with ayahuasca without being disturbed by anything. There is only you, ayahuasca, and the shaman who is facilitating your journey, your connection with the medicine. For example, with Santa Daime, the setting is completely different. It's a lot of people, they're wearing white with a lot of prayers, singing, dancing, with lights on. So the conception is completely different. So the first thing that you need to choose, that you need to decide which way you want to follow. It's difficult to say when you are not experienced, right? But I think that it's important just to look inside and try to feel where you're pulled to. Because, you know, sometimes you see a shaman, for example, and you just know that this is the person to whom you want to go, and you're listening to another one, and you don't feel connected. So I think that the matter of feeling is very important. Try to look inside and understand what setting you prefer, what tradition you prefer. If you prefer Peruvian tradition, because we are hosting retreats with traditional Peruvian shamans who fly from the Amazon, and it's easier and better for me to talk about this tradition. I will tell you the funny thing. A lot of people are contacting us, and before making their decision to participate, they're asking us questions about our retreats. And usually they're asking about transfers, accommodation, alimentary. Yeah, these three things: transfers, accommodation, alimentary. But the funny thing that they practically never ask us about the shaman, you know? And this is very important because people want to have this experience. They want to get in touch with the medicine, but they don't ask who is gonna host with their experience, who is gonna guide them through on their journey. So when you are looking for a retreat and you want to choose which one to join, ask the first vital question: who is going to be a shaman? What experience this person has? Where this person lives? Did this person pass dietas with master plans? What kind of education he
Very
has?
important.
Try to collect as much information as possible about the shaman, because it's all about the shaman and the medicine. Facilitators are also important, but they are there to assist, to help. The main thing is shaman and ayahuasca. So the second question that you need to ask, and that's very important question: what kind of medicine we are going to drink? And people practically also never ask it, unfortunately. Because the recipe, the traditional recipe is ayahuasca wine and DMT infused plant like chikuna. But there are so much more recipes. Sometimes people add different plants like chirixananga or toe or datura or other very strong psychoactive plants, and it totally change the experience you are gonna get. So that's very important to understand what kind of ayahuasca is gonna be served. So this is going to be your second question. And I would advise you to stick to the place where they have their very simple recipe with ayahuasca wine and the second plant like chikuna. Because when shamans, when real healers in the Amazon add additional plants, they are doing it because there is a specific problem that a participant has. For example, arthritis or some special type of depression or special type of disconnection. And that's why they add additional admixtures. As we are hosting ceremonies for a group and each person has different intention, it's better to work with a simple recipe. And also the third question would be who facilitators are. What kind of experience they had. Did they ever visit Amazon, or they just European guys who never had the opportunity to connect with this tradition, with this culture? What ceremonial rules are gonna be during the retreat? Are people gonna touch each other, talk with each other? Is it gonna be like dancing? Or is it gonna be a traditional ceremony when people are separated from each other? They are not communicating, they are not exchanging energies. They mind their own journey under the supervision of the shaman and facilitators. So ask your retreat provider about ceremonial rules. And I think these 3 moments are going to be more or less enough for you to choose. So who is the shaman? What ayahuasca we're going to drink? Who are facilitators? And the fourth one is what ceremonial rules you have on your retreat. Yeah.
That's really good. Thank you.
Thank you for
I
that.
will meet you in person one day in Portugal, Boris.
I hope so. I hope that the world will come back to some new normal and we can travel again.
Thank you.
We put you in the way.
Thank you so much for joining us and watching and your interest. We really appreciate it. It's important for us. Thank you so much.
It is. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll put you in the waiting room and I'll pull in. That looks like a very difficult surname to pronounce. But Anna Camila. It's opening up. Anna Camila. I had all this information in my head about depression. I've got some questions here that have been coming in as well, Boris, that we can answer once we've connected here.
Yeah, I think let's have maybe like 2 more people live. Yeah, and then we'll also answer the questions that we received before the online.
So those of you listening, if you've got any questions, I know that Kim Fowler had wanted to come on. I don't see her there. I've also seen that Jerry Seaman was wanting to ask. He's not come on. I've got, let's try Aileen. There you go. We've got through some information, but we could spend a whole week talking about
this.
That's
for sure. That's for sure.
There we go. Connecting to audio. I'll let you speak, Boris, and I'll look for some questions that I've got on here.
Sure. So the connection
is connection process. I don't look as if that's working.
I think here it is. No? No.
No, it's still not working, but I've asked Max to come in. Max, are you there? Max? Max? No, doesn't seem to be there. I've asked Barbara to come in now. Let's see if we get Barbara. If we don't get Barbara, I'll go to some of these questions that we've got waiting for us on this.
You know, that's such an incredible feeling to connect with people directly and just have this direct questions. I feel like that's an incredible opportunity that the modern world is giving us.
Barbara, are you there? Okay, so Kim Fowler's not asked me a question. I don't know if she's there. Jenny Seenan had a question. There was a question around about depression, which I'm just wanting to get to. There we go, 17 comments here. Okay, so one of the questions that I was asked on was for a guy called Kenny Hollinsworth, and I'm just going to answer Kenny's question now. So Kenny, I have a question I would like to ask, please. I am assisting someone tomorrow and not sure if I will be home to watch or I will have to catch up after the event, but I would like to ask this. Specifically for the treatment of depression and anxiety, and I suppose it's destructive traits associated with alcohol abuse, etc. I understood loosely in counselling there is no magic wand, hence CBT, etc. I actually believe this to be true, does not challenge this in any way. Is it like a bungee jump, skydive experience that? Okay, so I'll speak to that question, Kenny. Okay, so you mentioned cognitive behavioral therapy. You mentioned cognitive behavioral therapy there, Kevin. So, Barbara, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Okay, just give me
Oh,
2
hello.
seconds, Barbara. Just give me 2 seconds, and I'll just finish
Yeah,
addressing
of course.
this question.
Sorry, I didn't manage before.
That's okay. That's all right. So, cognitive behavioral therapy works on cognitive. Now, when we're looking at depression, I would encourage people to look at depression as not being a problem, as not being a negative thing. But depression has been a protection mechanism that's been felt out in its environment through its autonomic nervous system and also through the vagal nerve. So the vagal nerve in the body has this innate ability to be able to sense threat in its environment. And perhaps at an innate capacity, the human organism is experiencing a threat in its environment, and depression is actually the protection mechanism to shut the system down before it gets damaged by the threat. Now, that threat could be real or it could only be perceived, Kenny. So when you ask about cognitive behavioral therapy, perhaps the trauma that the individual experienced happened pre-cognition. It could have happened in utero. It could have been systemic or intergenerational trauma that's been passed down through the generations, or it could have happened in the first year of life before cognition really came online. So you're never going to be able to heal a problem from the mind that created it. And if you're using therapy and external therapy to go digging in the dark, you're going to fall short of any healing. What ayahuasca does is, it is, as Boris has said, and we've both agreed, it's not a magic wand. But what it does allow you to do is it allows the I would call it the vapor barrier between the conscious and the unconscious mind. The chakura root, the ayahuasca, its name is known as the vine of death or the vine of the souls, because it has an ability to be able to almost turn the ego down long enough. Let's imagine that the ego is the clutch between the gearbox and the engine. That's between the conscious mind and the unconscious and subconscious areas of the brain. So it has an ability to be able to just tease away the egonic part of the mind and allow you to gravitate between the world of conscious and unconscious sight. So the use of ayahuasca for depression is something very different, because it doesn't heal the depression, but what it does is it exposes and puts the light on a buried and very unseen trauma that may be showing up currently in your life to be exposed. So that would be how I would answer that question. And we've got Barbara on now. So Barbara, I'm going to put you over to Boris or myself. Hello.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, now we can see you. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. We are
Thank
all
you.
yours.
So I hope you didn't speak about it already, because I couldn't connect during the first 15 minutes. So my question would be about bipolar disorder, because I've read everywhere that it's not at all, that is dangerous. It's not at all recommended for people who have the bipolar disorder. I found one guy who made a study about it, that it can even heal bipolar disorder, but otherwise everyone says, no, don't do ayahuasca. And at one retreat, they said, I can do a diet, a master plants diet, but no ayahuasca. So what do you think about it?
Rose, do you want to start, and then I will catch up?
So have you been, is it for yourself or for a friend that's been diagnosed with bipolar disorder?
It's for me.
Okay. And have you been medicating that?
Yes, so I'm taking lithium
Well,
pills every day. So it's for preventing next episode of mania or depression, but I'm stable.
how many milligrams of lithium are you taking daily?
Um,
Is it orotate or sulfate? Lithium sulfate, orotate, or just lithium?
it's just lithium.
Okay. Do you know how many milligrams you're taking?
I think it's 2 times 400.
Okay.
I take two pills every evening.
Okay. Anything else?
But I can live without it. I mean, I sometimes I forgot to take it 6 days, and nothing happened, no problems at all. Anything else? No, nothing else.
So first thing I would suggest you to look at is just do your own exploration on this. I'm not a physician, I'm not a doctor, but I have an education in looking at lithium. And there's actually been studies done. If you look at lithium orotate, it's a very, very small dose, and it's a microdose of lithium, which actually has equal, if not more benefit than taking high doses of lithium. Because when you're taking high doses of lithium such as that, it then has contraindications for adding other types of symptoms, if you like. Does that make sense? So the only reservation I would have, and again, you would need to speak to a doctor or a physician, would be to approach ayahuasca. It would be much benefit to approach it with a clean system, which would mean you would need to get yourself to a position to be able to have been clear of lithium first. Boris?
Well,
Yeah,
Sorry,
you know, I can speak from my experience because we worked with some people who were diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And also as a retreat owner, I know that the first thing that retreats are doing is minimizing all risk. And the biggest risk for retreat is the fact that a person might be on a medication that is contradicted with ayahuasca.
Absolutely.
And it can cause an adverse reaction. So the first thing for any retreat is to make sure that the person is not on the medication while placing ceremonies. So that's why that's one of the things why sometimes retreat centers do not really eager to work with people with this kind of psychological problems who might be on the medication to avoid to avoid the reaction that they might have when they're not taking something. And of course, a retreat center is not able to control it in any way. Yeah, so this is the first thing that if you are willing to participate in ayahuasca ceremony, you need to find a way how to cancel the medication you are on before coming to the ceremony. And that's, you know, about your safety. That's totally in your sphere of responsibility to be absolutely sure that your system is clean. Then, when we worked with people who were suffering from bipolar disorder, I know that it is so vital for them to be sure that the group is right, or they are working privately with a shaman. Because sometimes during the ceremony, different stuff might happen. Someone can freak out, for example, because of the intensity of the experience, or lose control. It happens rarely, but sometimes it does. And I'm always open about it. You never know what kind of reaction a person might have. And when we have a person in a group who suffers with such a problem like bipolar disorder, we know how much this incident can affect this person. So that's why the first thing to consider is to be sure that the group is totally controlled, that no one is going to freak out, or to have a ceremony with a shaman when you work privately with him, because it's so important to be sure that the balanced atmosphere, that energy is going to be balanced during your experience, because one of the problems that people with bipolar disorder are facing is the lack of balance. They're always on one side or another side. And that's why during the ayahuasca ceremony, the main purpose, the main intention would be to find the balance between these states when person is jumping from one to another, how to find the balance. And ayahuasca is a great tool to find it, because ayahuasca is always about the balance. That's why some ceremonies we have like a lot of light and love and positive insights, and in other ceremonies we look inside and meet our fears, because the point is to find the balance between these two states, between the terrific feeling to be a human and the terrifying feeling to be a human. And that's a vital part for anyone who suffers with bipolar, to to be sure that during the ceremony everything gonna be calm, everything gonna be controlled, nothing will happen that can affect your experience, because then it can worsen your state. You know, this is a vital part when you work with ayahuasca and you're diagnosed with bipolar, to be sure that nothing external will affect you. And then, you know, it's also important not to have only one ceremony. I never advise to have one ceremony for anyone, but especially when you work with this kind of problems, it's so important to have a course, because this ceremony is a set of ceremonies, 3-4 ceremonies, each one can be different. And when you have only one, it kind of shows you only one side of the problems that you need to work with. But you really need to see another side to find this balance. And that's why it's important to go very slowly but surely. You know, in Peru, they're saying lento pero seguro, without any rush, especially when you have this kind of problems.
Yeah.
To have the first ceremony very mild. Maybe you are not even gonna have an intense experience. Maybe just some physical intention, maybe you will puke, and that's gonna be enough, because you need to be absolutely sure that it doesn't affect your physical body in a bad way. You have to be sure that this experience is safe. Then the next step on the second ceremony would be to go a little bit deeper. The third ceremony, a little bit deeper. And let's say the fourth ceremony as a closure for experience you receive. But also, you know, I would agree with retreat centers who offer dietas for you, because ayahuasca is a great supportive tool, but dietas is the main tool in the Amazonia for healing. And there are plants who are dedicated for this kind of problems. And if you can manage to go through a dieting process and then complement this experience with ayahuasca, that would be the best way. So in your case, I think if you make a decision to participate in ceremony, make sure you're physically clean, you're not putting yourself in danger, make sure you have enough time to go slowly, and yeah, make sure that you're not making any you know, steps that are too radical. Everything should be in balance.
Yep, very slowly.
Very slowly.
Very slowly.
It's very important. Very slowly.
Very slow. And you know,
And
also,
you know, the last thing, you know, Rose, the last thing is just, in my experience, I know that sometimes like retreat providers, facilitators, they want to just give you as much experience as possible. And they're doing it because they have good intentions. But ayahuasca is not about giving everything in one ceremony. It's about the process. And sometimes this process can take weeks, months. But it is very important to have it very balanced. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
and you know, in our experience, for some people it wasn't the game changer. Ayahuasca didn't help them to cope with their problem, but we also worked with people for whom it was a game changer, and it really helped them to find this inner balance, to find the direction that they can follow to heal themselves. Yeah, so it's always a risk, but I would say that with a right approach, it's worth to take it.
Okay.
of course. And I would mirror exactly what Boris has said about very quietly and very tentatively with yourself. And as I said earlier on about depression, both sides of the polarity, either the hypermania or mania, or when you're low, the Western mind wants to see that as a problem. The hypermania is a problem, the depression is the problem, the bipolar is the problem. But actually the challenge, those both sides of the polarity are actually a coping mechanism of not landing on the trauma. the trauma that's in the organism, the strategy that the mind has created is either to vibrate above it, so not to feel it, or to close off, not to feel it. So the lower part of the depression is shutting the system off against feeling the trauma, and the hypermania is to vibrate above it. Okay? But when you're vibrating above it, you're having a biochemical response to that that can feel quite good when you're in a hypermania state, you know? So then when you fall further. But the component to look at is neither the hypermania or the depression. The point to look at is the point of avoidance that the mania or the depression is keeping you from feeling. As Boris said there, it would be a very slow approach. And again, I'm not qualified to be making these statements. This is just my suggestion, would be, as Boris said, work with a dieta for maybe a month before you step towards a retreat, and took small doses of the medicine to see how your body is responding to it. Because it becomes a little bit more complex as well, because the ego has now got an investment in your illness. So the ego has an investment on the hypermania and the depression. So if you come in, and as Boris said, there's many retreat centres that want to give you a big impactful experience, but that's just to fulfill them, to make them look good. But the organism is more able to process small pieces of information than one big piece of information. Because if something comes on big, then the fall is just as great. Whereas if you take small tentative steps, the organism doesn't even notice that it's changing, right? So if you were to go to a retreat centre that you could maybe spend 6 weeks there, 28 days of a dieta, then small amounts of medicine that, as Boris then said, so we're looking at the trauma, it would allow the organism to look at the trauma to see how that trauma has been encoded into your system and where it's connected to other aspects within your system, and look at it from a more three-dimensional perspective. Am I making sense? My accent bad? Making sense?
Yes, totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can also give you a small direction. If you are thinking about going to Peru and you are looking for a center to contact, I would advise you to contact Takivasi Center, because they're concentrated on Takivasi.
Takivasi. Okay,
Takivasi, yeah, you can Google them. They work since 90s, and they're really concentrated on the healing approach. They have a great YouTube channel. You can find them and listen to their healers. And I would advise you to get in touch with them and see what they're gonna respond.
Okay.
Not the
Right.
advertisement, no commercial, but
No,
they're really they're good.
Thank you.
I have a lot of respect to them.
Okay, I will Google definitely.
Thank you so much.
Sorry?
Is that helpful?
Yes. So much information, and yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I wish you
Thank you.
well. Blessings.
Thank you.
All the best. Bye.
Stay safe.
We've covered some good points, and as I said, Boris, we could sit here all week chatting. We really could. Kenny Holland's one. He's good. Matt, Jerry Seenan is a friend of Francis Devine and myself. He's asked, how long are we asked to prepare? Jerry, the longer the better. That's my answer.
Yeah, but you know, important thing here, please do not exhaust yourself, because I know that there are two types of people. It's more than two types, but you know, two radical types. One type of people think that dieting is not important at all. Another team thinks that they should avoid like everything. They're so intense with their dieting process that when they come to the retreat, they're completely exhausted physically, and you shouldn't be exhausted. You should have enough energy to work with the medicine. And that's the sexual dieting is important because it allows you to collect the amount of energy that you can
Yes.
use to balance ayahuasca. So when you are dieting, as long as better, but please do everything in a moderate way. Don't go crazy with anything. As we were talking, ayahuasca is about the balance, finding the balance. And the dieting is also about the balance between what you are giving and what you are receiving. So don't exhaust yourself, please. That's very important.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking, Boris, is we've been on for an hour and a half, and we could go on talking about this wonderful.
I think we can announce the second part.
Yes,
You know?
you just took the words out of my mouth. So there, you've just announced the second part. For those of you that have tuned in and listened to us, thank you very much. I can only speak for me, but I'm very grateful for those that have took the time to come and listen to our opinion on the master plant and anything that we did not cover tonight, because I had so much stuff in my head I wanted to discuss, and I've discussed a fraction of it, but really it's such a wide topic. And if it is of any interest to you, I'm sure Boris and we could get together every 3 weeks or once a month and do a little program once a month and just start building little snippets. I'm going to, on behalf of APL, I'm going to start doing small videos for APL on subjects around depression, subjects around addiction, subjects around dieta, and Boris is also going to do that. But if you've enjoyed this live sort of connection that we've offered tonight and you would like to see more of that, please don't hesitate to get in touch with Boris at APL Journey Retreats, or indeed myself, and I'll be happy to take all comments on board. And Boris, thank you so much for the time that you've given us tonight. Really, really, thank you.
Thank you, Ross. The pleasure is mine. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's incredible that you were on the stream for 1.5 hours. That really makes our soul happy.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And yeah, Ross, thank you so much. And guys, you can always visit our website, APL Shamanic Journeys. It's www.apljourneys.com. There we have a page, Ayahuasca Assisted Therapy, where you can find all the information about Ross and what service he offers. You can find information about our retreats, and subscribe to our Instagram, APL Journeys, because we post daily there. We try to post a lot of educational short videos about shamanism and the tradition, because it's not about the ayahuasca. That's about the connection with plants, the connection with ourselves, about the complex approach that can be a real game changer in your life. So thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very, very much. One last thing on the final note, a personal friend of mine, and Boris knows her also, Dawn Burns, she had participated in a retreat last year and saw the vision that she was going to have a baby boy, and that baby boy was born into the world 2 days ago, 10 pounds, 3 ounces. So she was going to come on with us tonight, but she's a new mommy and she's with her baby, and I'd like to just extend my gratitude to Dawn for all she does for everyone that we know. So she wasn't here tonight and able to join us, but she'll be a newborn with her baby that she saw when she met Boris last year. So that's just such wonderful news to end on. And thank you very much. Thank you.